What if the most terrifying thing about the Lost Boys wasn't David, wasn't Star, but a child who was never meant to be a vampire at all? In today's episode of Horror Unfold, we're peeling back the shadowed layers of one of the strangest and most overlooked figures in Santa Carla's dark history, Laddie Thompson, a boy stolen from innocence, paraded as a missing child, trapped between human and monster. But the real horror isn't just what we saw on screen, it's what his story means. Because Laddie might just be the missing key to understanding how David's gang really worked, and why the Lost Boys were more than just a group of stylish killers. Stay with me, because once you see Laddie's story in full, you'll never watch the Lost Boys the same way again. Laddie Thompson was born on June 20, 1976. By the time the events of the Lost Boys take place in 1987, he was only 11 years old, a child. And yet, when we meet him, he's already a part of David's gang. But here's the chilling part. The very first clue we get isn't from him at all. It's from a milk carton. His face, his name, his status, missing child. That small detail, almost hidden in the background, tells us everything. Laddie didn't choose this. He was taken. He was ripped away from whatever life he had and turned into something he never asked to be. Unlike David, Dwayne, Paul, and Marco, Laddie wasn't a full vampire yet. He was something worse. A half-vampire. A creature on the edge of damnation, cursed with the hunger but not yet lost to it. Why would David want him this way? Well, Laddie was bait, a way to keep Star tied to the gang. She protected him like a mother, and David knew she wouldn't leave while Laddie's fate was still uncertain. And yet, we see resistance in Laddie. When Michael is pressured to drink the cursed blood, Laddie hesitates. He runs back to Star. In that small act, he shows more humanity than most of the gang ever did. But there's something even stranger. Laddie's last name, Thompson, is the same as Marco's. Coincidence? Maybe. But if it isn't, then the story grows darker. Was Laddie Marco's little brother? Was he taken as a way to break a family apart, turning one brother into a killer and the other into bait? If we look even deeper, the bond between Laddie and Dwayne in the film, the small nods, the unspoken affection, hints that even among monsters, someone still saw the child behind the hunger. And here's the problem at the heart of Laddie's story. What do you do with innocence when it's trapped in a monster's world? Laddie couldn't escape on his own. He was too young, too dependent on Star, too controlled by David's manipulations. The Frog Brothers didn't know what to make of him either. In their black and white view of the world, he was still a vampire, and yet not fully damned. That tension, that moral dilemma, is what makes Laddie one of the most disturbing characters in The Lost Boys, because he represents every victim who doesn't fit neatly into the category of human or monster. The climax of his story comes in the cave battle. As the gang is destroyed, Laddie begins to lose control. His hunger bursts out. His body twists with the change. For a moment, he is almost gone. But then Max dies. And just like Michael and Star, Laddie is free. His curse is broken. He's just a boy again. Terrified, exhausted, but alive. The horror ends for him, at least on the surface. It sounds like a happy ending, until you think about it. Because what kind of man does a boy like Laddie grow into? A boy who once thirsted for blood. A boy who slept in a cave of corpses. A boy whose face was printed on milk cartons while his family searched in vain. Does that ever really leave you? Or does the hunger still echo deep in his bones? But the truth is darker than the films ever show. Laddie was never reunited with his family. By the time Max was destroyed, his parents were already gone, killed by David's gang in their feeding frenzy. That loss lit a fire in him. He wasn't content to simply walk away from Santa Carla. Instead, he joined forces with the Frog Brothers. The shy, watchful boy became their quiet apprentice. For years, he trained under them. He learned the rules of hunting. He learned how to drive a stake, how to recognize the signs of the undead, how to survive in a world where the line between human and monster is razor thin. Laddie hunted vampires across California, and some say beyond. He became the weapon David had never wanted him to be. Not prey, not bait, but vengeance made flesh. Yet the years of blood and hunting wore on him. The faces of the undead blurred with the faces of his family. Every vampire he killed was a reminder of what he had lost. And then he met her, the woman who would become his wife. For the first time, he saw a chance at life outside the shadows. Together they built a family of their own. Children, a home, a life untainted by fangs and blood. And so, Laddie retired. He hung up the stakes, walked away from the Frog Brothers' endless war, and chose peace over vengeance. But those who knew him say the hunter never truly left. They say he still wakes at night, listening for wings at the window. They say he teaches his children the signs of the undead, just in case. Because once you've lived in Santa Carla's darkness, you never forget it. Here's why Laddie matters. He isn't just a background character or a piece of trivia for die-hard fans. He is the Lost Boys' true legacy. Because through him, we see what they were really capable of. Not just seducing teens with leather jackets and motorcycles, but dragging children into their nightmare. Laddie is proof that the Lost Boys weren't just a gang. They were a sickness, a spreading curse that devoured the weak, the young, the forgotten. And when we remember Laddie, we're forced to ask, how many others like him were taken, changed, and silenced in the dark corners of Santa Carla? Laddie Thompson's story is more than just a footnote in The Lost Boys. It's the reminder that horror doesn't always come from the fanged smile of a vampire. Sometimes it comes from the quiet face of a child who was never given a choice. Watch the next video on screen. The Hidden Origins of Max and the Widow Johnson.